Hello, investors. This is Connor Bates, Associate Portfolio Manager with Revere Asset Management. Today is Thursday, June 25th, 4:39 p.m. Eastern Time, coming to tonight's Revere Roundup Daily Market Insight video. And let's get straight into it. Market state, we are on a short-term pullback. Try and gauge leaders under neutral, short-term neutral as well, with the S&P 500 and the Qs closing below again today. Medium term, Q's above the 50-day moving average and S&P closed above by about 2 points, and long term above the 200-day moving average. What happened today? We had Micron earnings, which prompted a gap up in the market. Micron was gapping up as well, along with other memory names like SanDisk and various other semiconductor names, and then some morning volatility, and then mild okay close. And S&P 500 was fighting with the 50-day all day, but some nice outperformance in small caps, mid caps, and equal weight continues as we're seeing some of this rotation, with strength in biotech, home builders, healthcare, regional banks, airlines, some of these non-AI sectors. 21 list was up 1.8, 13 green, 8 red, Turbo 12 up 0.5%, 6 green, 6 red. Mag 7 continues to get killed. And all the chart, they are oversold, but man, these charts look awful from Netflix, Amazon, Tesla, Microsoft. Even Nvidia doesn't look too hot either. So that sector continues to get sold quite aggressively. RG8 up over 1%. AI Revere AI 100 up 1.1%, largely due to the fact that you had SanDisk up 20, Micron up 15, some of these semiconductor equipment like AMAT up 13, Teradyne up 10. So some of the leaders there. S&P flat, Equate up 0.65, Q's up 0.77, Equate up 0.68. Dow Jones Industrial Average up 0.14, mid cap 0.92, Russell 2000 0.75, 60/40 stock and bond 0.2, GROTECTION up 0.04, Turbo down 0.55. Let's take a look into the inter-asset correlation. And let's take a look at the S&P 500. And we're just kind of wedged here. One thing to note is the 8 EMA crossed below the 21 EMA, and that's typically not the best. And you can see right here is when you got that bull cross, and now we're getting that bear cross sitting right at the 50-day. But again, this market has been extremely, extremely choppy, and your guess is as good as mine in terms of which way this wants to go. We could just base out more here, could flush. No, we really don't know. What we do know is it's been very choppy, but not the worst close in the world. You could say this is maybe a higher low building off the 50-day, and you got a downtrend line here, so maybe it bases out in here for a little longer. We'll see. RSP relative strength as well. Close green on the day, still looking good, decent. Q, same thing here, like just very choppy. You had a kind of double top here, or is this a higher low? And are we just building out, a new range here to flag out? Chop is always the hardest environment, because you get seduced into long or short setups, and the follow through is very short, if any at all. And buying weakness, selling strength, trading the range is the best way. Clearly easier said than done. Mag 7, this is an absolute, you know, dumpster dive here. Getting pretty oversold at this point, but below the 200-day moving average. And again, from fouled moves come fast moves. You had the fouled breakout and just kind of waterfalling now. Let's take a look at the weekly. And yeah, I mean, it's not looking too hot. See if this can find some support. And let's just take a look. Microsoft, I mean, this is back to a pretty big support here below the 200-day moving average. Amazon below the 200-day moving average. Meta below the 200-day moving average. Netflix has quite literally no bid whatsoever. Nvidia coming into the 200-day moving average. So not too hot of a look here. See if they can bounce. Dow, bit of a upper wick today, but still at the highs, doing nothing really wrong. Mid caps doing nothing wrong. Russell 2000, same thing here, continues to trend up, looking good. Our potential bear flag below the 200-day moving average could be a good hedge. IBD 50 at the highs, not too shabby. VIX, as long as it's below 20, it's a good sign. Although the ATR, the S&P 500 continues to increase, the dollar continues to hold this breakout zone, handful of days up in a row. Maybe this pulls back to the 8 or 21, but this looks like a confirmed breakout for the dollar, something to monitor. Gold in no man's land, clear downtrend. GDX, same thing there. Silver as well. Bitcoin, no bid whatsoever. Bonds kind of popping back up. TLT rejecting the 200 rates, trying to bounce a little bit. So you can see kind of this market is kind of a mess. Very, very chaotic. All right, we got the new one sec. We got the new sentiment readings. AAII bulls ticked up to 44.9. That's up 8 points. Bears down 36, down 3 points, and NAM up almost 6 points. Back into that caution zone, 98, almost 100. Something to keep an eye out on. Like I mentioned, Micron earnings double beat. They had great earnings. Like you wouldn't expect anything less, but really for a stock like this, it comes down to positioning, sentiment, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit when I get into the charts. I kind of have a cool little segment that I want to talk about. We got PCE readings today as well. Pretty mild reaction. Then tomorrow we have consumer sentiment. Today's keys S&P and the Q's failing at the 21. Both holding above the 50-day for now, and then Russell above the 8 EMA. Sectors wise, like I mentioned, those non-AI healthcare equipment, airlines, semiconductors was still up today, with the big gap up healthcare, biotech, regional banks, meme, high beta ETFs, some of the software ETFs, and Bitcoin. GROTECTION today sold BE and HPE, trimmed Intel, and did an offensive trim on GH, 0.89 beta. Stocks estimated balance at risk minus 0.45, total 4.28. TurboTax bought FTNT and did an O trim on LABU. Nice move there, up 5 days in a row. 1.04 RVAB, stock balance at risk 2.38, total 4.88. Bottom line, Micron earnings, S&P battles the 50-day moving average, and more chop in leaders. All right, so let's start with Micron, and let's pull up a 5 minute so you can see. And you can see, right, this was gapping up at 1250 pre-market or off the open, and then kind of shot down rather aggressive in the morning, and then kind of found support and just kind of range rallied into the close, like decent close, but again, pretty choppy. This is trillion-dollar company that's moving up and down 20, 30, 40% in a matter of days. So the volatility is through the roof. So what I wanted to talk about today is that narrative and sentiment follow price, not the other way around. And when something's at an all-time high, the narrative and fundamental thesis is typically the best it ever looks, and it's hard to dispute. And that's the case for Micron. They had tons of price target upgrades this morning. The demand, everything, the whole 9 yards is extremely bullish memory and Micron. And again, the stock has had a huge move. And again, not saying this is topped. I'm just saying the fundamentals are always going to look the best at the top. And what are some other examples, right? We go to Bitcoin. Back here in October of 2025, when spot Bitcoin was at about 125,000, we had a pro crypto administration. It was part of the debasement trade, had momentum, and extremely positive sentiment from retail, right? Everything looked good. Well, that was the high, and Bitcoin has plunged ever since. We could take a look at software as well. All the way back here in October 2025, software kind of was like semis right now. It was a stable group. They had recurring revenues, high visibility and margins. And what happened in software is nearly got cut in half. And then another good example of this one is gold, right? Gold at the highs. It went on a huge run. And everyone was expecting Fed to cut rates. It was kind of a new paradigm shift with gold and silver, something you had to own as a hedge as well to the weak dollar. And what happened since then? Gold's gone from 509 to, $370 below the 200-day moving average. So, and the last one is Mag 7. When these are making new highs, you know, why wouldn't you own any Mag 7 stocks? They are viewed as the must-own stocks, insulated from inflation, geopolitical tensions, and expectation was they just continue to go higher. What happened since? It's gone from 70 to 61. So what am I trying to say is that narrative and sentiment always follow price, not the other way around. And it's always going to look the best at the top. So after Micron earnings today, everyone was very excited. It was gapping up. It still did close up 15% on the day, but something to think about. And don't get too married to the story as Micron currently is. It is currently 188% above the 200-day moving average. That is pretty extended. And of course, the fundamentals are there, but this has been on a big move. So I just thought some interesting tidbits to share on the video. So, all right, let's take a look at some of the 21 list. Teradyne acting well, breaking out of this nice looking base here. Buying strength hasn't been working. Curious if this follow through. Flex, contract manufacturing names, nice gapping up out of a tight area. MTSI, semiconductor manufacturing, undercut and reclaim of the 21. This looks good. G8 is part of that medical service biotech theme. Awesome action out of this flag. Generac into 300. Livermore, FTNT. One of the best looking cybersecurity names right now. Kind of got a high tight flag look. See if this can go. NVT basing at the highs. Viavi optics have been super, super choppy. Total mess, chaotic charts to say the least. But you got a power three setup. So see if this can maybe break a trend line and wedge pop back up. Marvell, another bounce off the 21. This one just looks like it needs more time to base out. Eli Lilly in the medical space looks pretty good, getting back through those base highs. Intel undercut and reclaim the top of the base. Definitely one of the semiconductor leaders right now. Snowflake at the 21 day. Credo just pretty choppy, but trending going up. Cisco got a pretty tight range here below 120. NBIS was a fouled breakout, coming back into 250, 21 EMA. This one is rewards if you buy it on dips. Marriott, see what it does with the 50-day moving average. WGMI, is this a double top or is this just forming a handle, right? You can see rejected those left side highs, or maybe this is forming a handle hood. Briefly above the 200-day, back below once again. QBTS breaking the 200-day moving average. Seems like anytime these quantum names get a pop, they lack any fundamentals. Dell, nice little hammer on this one today as well, and holding the 21 EMA. Turbo 12, BE, this is the character of this stock. It's best bought on weakness versus strength. And if you're buying this breakout through 322, got slammed today down 5%. Although, I mean, it's 10% ATR stock, so it's kind of expected, but very choppy. Keel flagging in this big round cup and handle base. ARM closing below the 21. This has kind of been a laggard again after a fouled. You can just kind of say this is a fouled breakout, double top setup. TSCM, same thing here, right? If you're buying the breakout, immediately slam. But what you'd like to see, if these names are rejecting these left side peaks, you'd like to see them start to base out here again. That would be constructive. FLNC is going to be getting booted. Oscar, kind of a high tight flag at the highs, looks great. CrowdStrike super tight. It's got to pick a direction here soon. Really, 700 is what you want to see this break out through this kind of trend line, but super tight. So it looks like a move is. Uh, Mine's giving me issues today. Looks like a move is brewing, whether that be to the upside or downside, but super tight. So range expansion is likely here soon. OUST still holding this top of the base. Not the worst look, but again, super choppy. Frog, you gotta see if this wants to work. Frogs had pretty clear downtrend line here, doing nothing wrong, holding 21 EMA, and then PENG, very volatile, but this has got a good looking flag set up here as well. Kind of ignore this big gap up reversal, as maybe it's starting to negate that. And then AHR, another one that's been very choppy. We had a big move up here, and then now it's just base building. So and that's what we're seeing in quite a lot of names, just working off these moves and potentially setting up for the next leg higher. Although basing period can be frustrating as sometimes you think something's ready to go, find a low risk spot, but maybe it goes for a day or two, then it's kind of back in. So that's kind of just why it's been really a tough market and more range action. And then MXL, this one looks fantastic as well. I'm not really, I don't know if I'd say this is ready, but maybe through 100, this could be actionable. But it's had an extremely strong move. And now, it's kind of you had an undercut right here, held the 50-day moving average, building higher lows now against the downtrend line. So we'll see what this one has in store. And this one was also up 11% on the day. Let's see. Corning trying to break out of this base, another serial choppy stock, but maybe into new highs. This one can start to trend and become a linear name. Take a look at some of the space names, just complete destruction. And kind of was the thinking, we the space names are running SpaceX IPO. There was a lot of hype. It was kind of a brainless thesis, made sense. And then, once SpaceX IPO'd, it was kind of a news valley. And Rocket Lab has gone from 150 to 80, nearly cut in half. And that's the reality of some of these growth high beta stocks is the upside's great, but if you have no discipline on the downside, you get caught in these. And, now it's all the way back into the 200-day moving average. Going to be interesting how it responds there. Some of the other semiconductor equipment names, Applied Materials, new highs today. I think UCTT is another one, right? Yep, up 11%. Qualcomm's not, but this is just one to watch. It's building a flag, super choppy, but building another base here. Let's see. WDC and STX kind of big reversals here. SanDisk and Micron kind of back to leaders. SanDisk is making new closing highs again today, and SIMO is another kind of one in that same space. Kind of been sending base-ish look on that one. And yeah, the ATR, the S&P 500 is up to 1.31. And as we know, it's tougher tape when that is trending, when that is increasing, and that's what we're seeing right now. And then some other notable ones, Twilio in the software space, trying to hold the 50-day moving average looks pretty good. Datadog, getting tight, trying to see if this can reclaim the 21 EMA. And perhaps even if semiconductors cool off more, these start to get some rotation. So really the bottom line is it has been a very choppy market. It's best to be a little bit more patient here. Really can go either way here. So have to see, are we setting up for a base, or break the 50-day? What's that going to look like? We're just taking it day by day and updating you guys real time. So that is going to wrap it. As always, I'd like to hear from you. My email is connor@revereasset.com. You can always reach out to me on Twitter as well, Connor J Bates _. And if you're ever interested in becoming a client, as always, please reach out. Thank you guys for watching and have a great evening.